Om Swastiastu. Thank you for the time that given to our group. Today we are going about behaviorism, cognitivism, constructivism. But before that, introduce our group member. Start from me, Dewi, and then the second one, Luh Desi Purnamawati. The third one is Komang Jenisa, and then the last one is Gede Santiawan. First discussion is about definition about behaviorism. Behaviorism is a systematic approach to understanding the behavior of human and other animals. Behavior is generated by cause-effect of activities and can be set to learning process. It is usually used to create new, hopefully positive outcome by dual training to be objects, like an animal and human. There are two kinds of behaviorism. The first one is methodological behaviorism. This behavior is based on objective training, how environment affect the behavior, and the result is purely determined by their training achievement. This depends to the object motivation. Second one, radical behaviorism. Overall, this behavior is similar to the methodological behaviorism, but these theories agrees to a genetic reason will affect behaviorism result. This means some people might have more advanced ability than others, and the contrast. Besides of those behaviorist theories, they can be made and reached by two ways, which which have some different technique and at least give a similar outcome to the object. Depend to the target level in training. There are the first one is classical conditioning. Classical conditioning is theory about that behavior can be made or modified by pairing a natural stimulus with a naturally occurring stimulus at the same time. At beginning, the object will respond only to the natural stimulus instead of natural stimulus. And then the second one, operant conditioning. Different to classical conditioning, operant conditioning gives the trainer the control of objects. Behavior training by give uh, reinforcement or punishment to them. If the object can do the instruction successfully, the trainer could give them a present or prize. Next, behaviorism, there will two effects. The first one is a positive effect, like jumps right into the exercise without much theorizing. And then the negative is effects like seem to be more fit for an animal. It doesn't consider mood feeling of the object. The next explanation about cognitivism will be explained with Desi. Desi, time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the time. So here I will continue the explanation about cognitivism theory. So the cognitivism theory is different with behaviorism theory. If the behaviorism theory is more inclined towards a stimulus, But the basic assumption of this theory is that everyone has experience. So this experience is arranged in the form of cognitive structure. In other motifs, students already have an initial knowledge model, or which means that the student is not blank or not a paper blank. The role of the teacher here is linking new knowledge with old knowledge, what students have. Next, okay, there are four principles of this theory. The first is an effort to understand experience. The second is understanding that learners develop depends on what they have known. The third is learn to build understanding instead of notes. And the last is learning is a change in a person's cognitive structure. Well, the implication of this theory. The first is providing opportunities for students to express their ideas. The second is giving opportunities for students to think about their experience. The third is giving opportunities for students to try new ideas. The fourth is giving an experience related to students' ideas. Encourage students to think about changing their ideas. And the last is creating a conducive environment. So there are three stages that must be done so that the learning process can be realized. So here I will explain one by one. The first is assimilation. It refers to the incorporation of new information into exciting cognitive structure. For example, an English teacher will provide new material about the context. In this case, the simple past tense material is needed. So here, the old knowledge about the simple past tense is re-emerged. That's about assimilation. The next is accommodation. It means adjustment between new and old material, whether both of them are compatible or not. According to example above, if we want to learning about the context, and we also use the simple past tense in this learning. As we know that the context is the text that explain an experience or event that happened in past. So we have to use the simple past tense here. So that is called accommodation. And the last one is equilibration or balance. When new material and old material are fixed, a balance will be created there. When students are given new material, they will study it using their knowledge to support their learning. And from it, they gain new knowledge. So the old and new material have a balance, thus generating new knowledge capital to the students themselves. Next, the cognitivism theory have some strengths and also have weaknesses. The strengths of this theory are making students more creative and independent, and also helping students understand learning material more easily. While the weaknesses of this theory are not comprehensive for all levels and also difficult to apply it if students have a cognitive barrier. So guys, that's all about my explanation. The next explanation will continue by Jenisa. To Jenisa, time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the chance that given to me. So now I will explain about constructivism. So constructivism is the theory that says learners construct knowledge rather than just passively take in information. As people experience the world and reflect upon those experiences, they build their own representation and combine new information into their persisting knowledge. related to this. So these are the processes of assimilation and accommodation. The first one, assimilation, refers to the process of taking new information and fitting it into the existing schema. And accommodation refers to using newly acquired information to revise and redevelop an existing schema. The consequences of constructivist theory. The first one, students learn best when engaged in learning experiences, rather passively receiving information. The second one, learning is naturally a social process because it is embedded within a social context as students and teachers work together to build knowledge. And the last one is because knowledge is imparted to the students, so the goal of the teaching is to provide experiences that facilitate the construction of knowledge. Next, essential components to constructivist teaching. So there are some main components if you plan to expand the class as a constructivism. The first one is elicit prior knowledge. So, new knowledge is created in relation to learners resisting knowledge or the knowledge before. Therefore, it needs to create relevant prior knowledge. So there are activities like tests, informal interviews, and small group warm-up activities that require recall of prior knowledge. The second one is create cognitive dissonance. So we can assign problems and activities that will challenge the students. Knowledge is built as learning in the face of new problems and revising existing schemes as they work through challenging problems. The third one is apply knowledge with feedback. Encourage the students with to evaluate new information and modify existing knowledge. Activities should allow the students to compare persisting schema to the new situation. Activities can be like a presentation, small group or class discussion, and also quizzes. The last one is reflect on learning. So we can provide the students with an opportunity to show you or themselves what they have learned. So activities can be like a presentation, reflexive papers, or creating a step-by-step tutorial for another student. So that's all that I can explain. So the next material will explain by Santi.
Okay, thank you, Jenisa, for the time given to me. We are going to the last material of this presentation. That is implementation of behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructivism. The first implementation of behaviorism can be found on vocational high school, for example. The student of kitchen and restaurant major might have experience of the teacher who snipes, "You must walk fast," and make them suddenly scattered and did the works faster so they didn't be scolded by the teacher. After that day, the teacher always shout them each practice day and make the students slowly going to not be scattered anymore, and the works are tidier compared to previous practice. Until someday, teacher stop says that and make the student always do the works excellently. Next is implementation of cognitivism. It can be found again in the vocational high school in the kitchen of and restaurant major. The student had learned how to make a stock. Today, they were going to make a demi-glace sauce. In the progress, the teacher demonstrated how to make a demi-glace sauce, and the steps were similar from make a basic stock. Some students may think, "Hey, I had learned it before." And this is make the same process to make a stock, but only with a extra steps. And student can be creative like that and make the practice easier. And the last is implementation of constructivism that can be found when we do an exam. In the essay question, we may see question types of explain the definition of stocks. Sometimes we answer it not fully same as the book said, but we make out our words to describe that. That's a paraphrasing, and paraphrasing is a kind of constructivism. Okay, that's all about our presentation today. Thank you and goodbye.